start the class and right now, and today I will talk about a new topic of spectroscopy, which is vibrational spectroscopy. And can you hear me clearly?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So now let's start because you have another class right now. After finishing my class, you have another class. So I don't think that I should delay much. So now today my topic is vibrational spectroscopy. So what is the vibrational spectroscopy? Vibrational spectroscopy is also called infrared spectroscopy because it is using this kind of spectroscopy uses infrared light for the transition. As I have already shown you the entire electromagnetic spectrum previously, just here. Just see, this is the entire electromagnetic spectrum, and now you see that we have talked about this UV spectroscopy. Then this is the visible portion, and this portion is the infrared light. So the infrared light will have a longer wavelength compared to the UV light. So infrared light is having longer wavelength, means it has a higher energy, lower energy. So infrared light has lower energy than this UV light. So it can it can be used for a small transition within a small gap, within a small energy level, because UV light is generally used for the electronic transition, and the electronic transition occurs from the ground state to the higher excited state, and whereas this infrared light actually used for the vibrational spectroscopy. And from here you can see that the band gap, just a minute. These are the different, except not this picture. Yes, here. Here you can see these infrared light can be used for a transition which requires less energy. Now this electronic transition requires higher energy, so it is using the UV light. And these transitions which occurs among different vibrational levels, from here to here or here to here or here to here, these different vibrational levels, transition among different vibrational levels can be happened if light from the infrared source falls upon the molecule. Then this amount of light, that energy, the energy that we are getting from the infrared light is sufficient to make the transition in the vibrational level. But that energy that is coming from the infrared light is not at all sufficient for this long jump, for this long transition, for this electronic transition. So infrared light is used for the vibrational spectroscopy. That is why vibrational spectroscopy is also called the infrared spectroscopy. Now, what causes vibration in a molecule? First, before that, I would like to say that which type of molecule will give rise to vibrational spectroscopy. So, when infrared, if is it so that every molecule will give the vibrational spectroscopy if infrared light falls upon them? It is not like that. Only those molecules in which the polarity changes during the vibration will give the vibrational spectroscopy. That means the molecule may or may not be polar. If the molecule has a permanent dipole moment, then definitely it will give infrared spectroscopy. But even if the molecule doesn't have any permanent dipole moment, but if during the mode of vibration, there develops some polarity, then or some dipole moment, then the molecule will be infrared active. Now, what is the vibration in a molecule? Vibration means, we all know that the molecule means two atoms are joined by a chemical bond. So vibration means there may be some stretching in the bond or compression in the bond, or there could have been some rotation of the, if the bond is single bond, then there could have been some rotation in the bond. So all these mode causes the vibration in the molecule. So any kind of stretching, any kind of bending of a bond, or any kind of rotation of a bond around a single bond causes the vibration. Suppose you have taken a spring. So when it is in resting position, it is in equilibrium position. The spring is in equilibrium position. Now, if you want to stretch the string from the two ends of the string, then you will definitely observe some kind of vibration in that string. Similarly, this happens in case of a chemical bond when there are
Hello,
two
ma'am.
atoms.
Some
Yes,
students are trying to join.
they are so late. Every time you tell them. Yes. So the vibration in a bond is exactly similar when we are trying to stretch a spring. Okay, so this kind of stretching or rotation or bending causes a vibration within a molecule. So what are the different mode of vibration? There are different kinds of vibration. Before going to that, I would like to tell you about the infrared spectroscopy or the vibrational spectroscopy. In here, the molecule, there is some interaction of the infrared light with the matter, and the infrared spectroscopy can be observed for samples like solid, liquid, or gas. And the instrument which is used for this infrared spectroscopy is called the infrared spectrometer, and the spectrum is called the infrared spectrum. And now, the unit of the typical unit of frequency used in IR spectra is centimeter inverse, and the unit of IR wavelength is denoted by micrometer, and this micrometer is known as microns, and the symbol is micrometer. And in our sophisticated instrument, the spectra that we are getting is not the raw data or the raw spectra. We actually get the all the spectra in the Fourier transform way. So all the spectra that we get is called a Fourier transform infrared spectra, or the machine is called Fourier transform infrared spectrometer. So what is Fourier transform? Fourier transform means it is a mathematical, nothing, it is a programming. It is a mathematical calculation which is inbuilt in the machine. Now, when the machine or detector detects the signal, then some digits, it is actually recording some digits. Okay. Now, these raw signal or the raw data has to be modified in such a way so that they are presentable, or they can be distinguished, the different spectra can be distinguished from each other, so we can locate or we can identify the individual spectra. The detector that it is detecting, or the recorder that is gathering the data, here all the data from the same sample are coming simultaneously. So the waves which are coming simultaneously is actually overlapping. So if you record the spectra with respect to time, then you will get different spectral wave, overlapping spectral wave, and you won't be able to identify the individual spectra. So for that reason, a mathematical programming is established or present inbuilt in the instrument, which what it does, it actually changes the time domain into the frequency domain. So the time domain spectra is being transferred into a frequency domain spectra. Then we can observe the individual peaks. We can identify the individual peaks having different frequency in the record, in the chart, or in the spectra. So instruments that all these modern instruments that accord the spectral data, not for the case of IR. It is also applicable for microwave spectroscopy and also for the NMR spectroscopy. This Fourier transform programming is inbuilt in the machine, it is present in the machine, and these mathematical calculation or mathematical program transfer the time data into a frequency domain, time domain into a frequency domain, so that individual spectral peak can be identified. Now see this picture. These bold black lines are electronic states are different vibrational levels. These bold black lines are different vibrational levels. Now this whole is the electronic state in the ground state, and this whole is the electronic state in the excited state. So these black lines, bold lines are vibrational levels, and there are fine lines in between two vibrational levels. These are due to the rotational energy levels. So for the electronic transition, we have a transition from here, from the ground state, anywhere from the ground state to anywhere in the excited state. Anywhere from the ground state to anywhere in the excited state. Now this is the electronic energy level. Next comes to the vibrational level. Vibrational levels means you just see from these vibrational level to these vibrational level, from these vibrational level to these vibrational level. So the vibrational level transition occurs between two vibrations. Between two the in the infrared spectroscopy, the transition occurs between two vibrational levels. Next comes the rotational level. Rotational levels is the transition within one vibrational level but in between different rotational levels. Just see, these small transitions are rotational levels. So these all things belongs to the ground vibrational levels, and these all things belongs to the higher vibrational levels in the ground state. But this rotational level, you can see there is a jumping or the transition from this 0th vibrational level to first vibrational level, like this, anywhere from here. But these rotational levels which are designated by R1, R2, like that, these rotational levels transition actually occurs within a particular vibrational level. That means these, if you can see here, these rotational transitions are actually occurring within the 0th vibrational level. It is not occurring from 0th vibrational level to first vibrational level. All the rotational transitions are occurring within the same vibrational level. So from here it is quite clear that the electronic transition requires the highest energy, then vibrational transition requires energy less than the electronic transition, and the lowest amount of energy required for the rotational transition, and that is with the help of microwave light. So now coming back to the infrared radiation, the infrared spectrum has three portions. One is the near, mid, near, far, near infrared, mid infrared, and far infrared. So these are the range. The higher energy is the near infrared, which is approximately 14,000 to 4,000 centimeter inverse, or in terms of micrometer, you can say that 0.8 থেকে 2.5 micrometer. Then comes the mid infrared region, which is from 2.5 to 25 micrometer, and the energy requirement is less than this near infrared. Then the last one is the far infrared, where the wavelength used is 25 to 1000 micrometers. So naturally, the energy requirement is much less. So these far infrared is actually overlapping with the rotational energy level. So when you are trying to acquire some rotational spectra, there will be always some overlap between the rotational spectrum and the vibrational spectrum. So these are the different portions or different region of the vibrational spectroscope. Now, in the infrared spectroscopy exploits the fact that molecules absorb frequencies that are characteristic of their structure. This absorption occurs at resonant frequency when the light supplied or the energy supplied matches with the energy required for one transition, then there will be a transition from lower to higher energy state. And these infrared frequency is also dependent on the structure of the molecule. Suppose in case of double bond and in case of single bond, the double bond molecule will have higher infrared frequency compared to the single bond molecule. So double bond molecule will have a higher stretching frequency. That infrared frequency is also called the stretching frequency. Now, here I want to first tell you the what is degrees of freedom. Degrees of freedom, we know that in a molecule, if there is n number of atoms, then the molecule has 3 translational degrees of freedom in the 3 coordinates x, y, and z. These are the 3 translational degrees of freedom, means the molecule can move translationally in these 3 directions, in the x direction or in the y direction or in the z direction. That means the molecule is free to move. The molecule is actually free to move in these 3 directions. So molecule has 3 translational degrees of freedom. Next is the rotational degrees of freedom. If the molecule is linear molecule, then it has 2 rotational degrees of freedom. Linear molecules means the carbon monoxide, CO. It is a linear molecule. So it has 2 rotational degrees of freedom. That means it can rotate the molecule in 2 directions. And if the molecule is not a linear molecule like water, water is not a linear molecule, or PCl3, which is not a linear molecule. So for non-linear molecule, the rotational degrees of freedom is 3n minus is 3. Sorry, the rotational degrees of freedom is 3. So that means you can rotate the molecule along 3 directions. And total number of degrees of freedom in a molecule having n number of atoms is 3n. So what is the total number of degrees of freedom of a molecule having n number of atoms is 3n, among which 3 are translational degrees of freedom, and for linear molecule 2 are rotational degrees of freedom. So how many will be vibrational degrees of freedom for linear molecule? 3n minus 3 plus 2, which is 5. 3n minus 5. This is the vibrational degrees of freedom for a linear molecule. Similarly, for a non-linear molecule, the total number of degrees of freedom, vibrational degrees of freedom is 3n minus 6. Take the example of water. Water has 3 atoms. So what will be the total vibrational degrees of freedom? 3 into total number of atom is 3 here. So 3 into 3 minus 6. Why 6? Because water is a non-linear molecule. So 3 to 3, 9. 9 minus 6 is equal to 3. So water has 3 degrees of freedom, vibrational degrees of freedom, and that means water molecule can be vibrated in 3 different ways. Water molecules can be vibrated in 3 different ways. So similarly, carbon monoxide, if you take carbon monoxide, so it is a linear molecule. It is a linear molecule, so total number of degrees of freedom will be, total number of atom is 2 here. So 3 into 2, which is equal to 6. 6 minus 5, which is equal to 1. So carbon monoxide will have a degrees of vibrational degrees of freedom 1. Similarly, N2 also a linear molecule. So N2 also will have a vibrational degrees of freedom 1. Okay. So is that clear to you how to determine the vibrational degrees of freedom? Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, what happens when the mute yourself? Here also the same thing has been shown in a broader sense. Just here, this is the V equal to 0 state, this is the V equal to 1 state, and this is the V equal to 2 state. And between two vibrational levels, there are several rotational levels. So for a vibrational transition, the molecule must go from a 0th vibrational level to a V1 vibrational level, or from a V1 level to a V2 level. But it is not necessary for the transition to take place from these ground state only. It can take place anywhere from here. But the most frequent transition is the one which is actually taking place from the ground state of the molecule. And for the rotational level transition, the transition will occur within these label only. There won't be any transition from these rotational level to these rotational level. So rotational level is quite confined. Transition is quite confined. Okay. So there are certain selection rules for the vibrational spectrum transition to occur. What is that? The selection rule tells that these are quantum mechanically calculated. Okay. Selection rule tells that delta V must be equal to plus minus 1. That means whenever there is a transition, the change in value of V, change in the vibrational quantum number will be equal to plus 1 or minus 1. That means the transition will always occur between two consecutive levels, from V0 to V1 or V1 to V2, like that. V0 to V2 or V0 to V3 are not easily observable. Okay, this is the selection rule. So when delta V equal to plus 1 means absorption, that means it is going from lower to higher. And when delta V equal to minus 1, that means emission, that means higher to lower. So what are the different criteria for a molecule to have vibrational spectra? First of all, it must have non-zero dipole moment during the vibration, and second one is the delta V must be equal to plus minus 1. These are the two criteria for the vibrational spectroscopy to occur.
Ma'am, what the dipole moment? Please repeat, ma'am. Dipole moment point.
What is dipole moment?
No, you just said that the selection rule. What is the first rule, ma'am?
First rule is there must be a non-zero dipole moment during the vibration of the molecule. The molecule must not have may or may not have permanent dipole moment. Permanent dipole moment, it can have or may not have. Okay, but during the vibration, there must have some dipole moment generated. Okay, clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Then try
আর
to
মানে মাঝখানে যেগুলো কি এই জে ইকুয়াল টু 10
শুনতে পাচ্ছি না।
জে ইকুয়াল টু 10 লেখা আছে, ভি ইকুয়াল টু 0, ভি ইকুয়াল টু 1 এর মাঝে ওই
হ্যাঁ, এগুলো হচ্ছে যে মানে হচ্ছে যেমন ভাইব্রেশনাল লেভেলকে আমরা ভি দিয়ে বলছি, সেরকম রোটেশনাল লেভেলকে জে বলা হয়। ঠিক আছে, এখানে 10 খানা সেপারেশন আছে, সেই জন্য জে ইকুয়াল টু 10 দিয়েছে।
ওকে ম্যাম, ঠিক আছে।
ঠিক আছে, আচ্ছা এখানে ক্রাইটেরিয়াটা জাস্ট জাস্ট del mu by del r, d mu by dr must not be equal to 0. দুটো যদি কি কি হোয়াট আর দ্য ক্রাইটেরিয়া যদি বলেই, তাহলে এইগুলো লিখতে হবে। del mu by del r must not be equal to 0, and another criteria is delta v must be equal to plus minus 1. These two are the criteria for the vibrational spectroscopy. So what is mu? Mu is the dipole moment and r is the internuclear distance. Internuclear distance means you have in a molecule you have two atoms. I think you know what is intermolecular distance. You have two atoms. When you are vibrating or when you are stretching or when you are bending a molecule, then there must have been some change in the bond length within the molecule. So this is the internuclear distance from here to here. This is the internuclear distance. So when you are at the equilibrium position, it is like this. But when you are stretching suppose you are stretching the molecule, then what will happen? The bond length will be, the bond length, the intermediate bond length will be increasing. Or if you try to compress the molecule, then the intermediate bond length will decrease. So what will happen? During that change in bond length, the dipole moment change with respect to that change in bond length must not be equal to 0. Clear? Clear আছে? কি বলছি? বুঝেছো কি বললাম?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
ইয়েস ম্যাম, ইয়েস ম্যাম।
তার মানে again I am explaining. Suppose this is the equilibrium position. Now you are trying to stretch the two atoms from the two ends. So what will happen? The bond length will be increased. So at that time, the dipole moment change will also be not equal to 0. So the change in dipole moment versus the change in bond length must not be equal to 0. Okay. So how is it possible? First, then for that we need to know what are the different vibrational motions. This is the symmetrical stretching. They have stretching and bending. These are the different vibrational mode. In the stretching mode, there are two types of stretching. One is symmetrical stretching, another is asymmetrical stretching. Symmetrical stretching means you are stretching the two atoms from the two ends with equal force. That then the internuclear, then the distance from the middle of the bond to the atom remains the equal in both sides. That is called the symmetrical stretching. And what is asymmetrical stretching? In asymmetrical stretching, you are stretching one end with a greater force and other end with a lesser force. So what will happen? In one end, the bond length will be increasing, and in the other end, the bond length will not increase to that extent. That is called the asymmetric stretching. And then comes the rocking. Rocking means both the atoms are moving in the same direction. That is called the rocking. Okay. Then comes the scissoring. Scissoring means two atoms are moving. These are the bending modes. Two atoms are moving in opposite direction, just like when you are using a scissor. What will happen to the two different arms of the scissor? They actually move in two different directions. Then another bending mode is wagging. Wagging means just like the wagging of a tail. So both the atoms, plus plus means both the atoms are moving in the same direction. And the last one is the twisting. Twisting means one atom is moving in the forward direction, another is moving in the backward direction. So it is plus minus. So these are the different bending mode, among which in-plane deformation or in-plane bending is rocking and scissoring, and out-of-plane deformation is wagging and twisting. So these are the different types of bending modes. Now from here it is also clear that. Just see. This is carbon dioxide. It is a linear molecule.
Hello,
So
ma'am. Some students are trying to join.
you just tell me, is that the time to join the class?
Sir,
Ma'am,
ma'am
they were
may
trying
have.
from very beginning of the class, but they said that due to some network issue, they got disconnected again.
Now see, this is carbon dioxide, which is a linear molecule, which is its equilibrium position. So equilibrium position means both the oxygen atoms are equidistant from the central carbon atom. So the dipole moment in this direction will be equal but in opposite direction to that of this. So CO2 is a non-polar molecule because dipole moment is a vector quantity. What is the direction of the dipole moment? Direction of the dipole moment is from positive to negative direction. So from positive to negative direction, this is the direction of the dipole moment. So here this vector actually moving is towards this direction, and this vector is from this direction. So this is one dipole moment vector, this is one dipole moment vector coming from these two bonds. So they are actually cancelling each other. So CO2 is a non-polar molecule. But CO2 has some bending mode. So CO2 can vibrate like this. CO2 can vibrate like this. Bending means you are bending the bonds. You are bending the bonds. And also CO2 has some stretching mode. What are the stretching? Stretching mode is symmetric stretching. Symmetric stretching means you are stretching the two oxygen atoms from the two ends with the similar force. So the distance from the carbon atom, distance of these two oxygen atoms from the center carbon atoms remains the same. So dipole moments also remains the same in two directions. So they are also getting cancelled out. But in case of asymmetric stretching, one of the oxygen is stretched more, and it is not like that. So here the dipole moment value will be different from here, the dipole moment value from here. So this time the dipole moment value will not be cancelled from each other. So there will be some resultant dipole moment in this carbon dioxide due to this asymmetric stretching. So that is why the carbon dioxide is a higher active molecule, though carbon dioxide doesn't have any permanent dipole moment. So this is what I am telling you. During the mode of vibration, if there exists some non-zero dipole moment, then that molecule will be higher active. Clear? Is it clear?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Clear.
Okay. Just
Ma'am, from in the diagram of equilibrium, there is the dipole moment of there is zero dipole moment. Is it?
yes,
Okay,
yes. Now see, I'm taking three examples. These are carbon dioxide. What are the examples? Carbon dioxide, CO2, CO. Carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, and nitrogen dioxide. Molecular weight. Is my voice echoing?
No, my mic was on, so it was equal.
Increase yourself, okay? So I'm taking three examples: CO2, CO, and N2. So these are all linear molecules. Now you see for CO. Take the example of CO. CO has two atoms. So the total number of vibrational degrees of freedom for CO will be 3 into 2 minus 5. That means 1. CO has 1 vibrational degrees of freedom. N2 also has 1 vibrational degrees of freedom. But what about carbon dioxide? Carbon dioxide is having 3 atoms. So it will be 3 into 3 minus 5. So it will be 9 minus 5, 4. So carbon dioxide has 4 vibrational degrees of freedom. Now CO has 1 vibrational degrees of freedom. It is the first vibrational degrees of freedom, which is the symmetric stretching. So carbon monoxide has symmetric stretching. Symmetric stretching. CO has only symmetric stretching, okay? But you know, symmetric stretching, this kind of stretching is called the symmetric stretching. But CO is itself a polar molecule. CO is itself a polar molecule. It has dipole moment. So even if it is the symmetric stretching, the CO, the del mu del R will not be equal to 0 because CO is itself a symmetric molecule, polar molecule. That is why del mu del R will not be equal to 0. It will be not equal to 0. So that is why CO is higher active. Now take the example of N2. N2 also is a linear molecule having one vibrational mode for N2 also. That is also symmetric stretching. Okay. For N2 also it is symmetric stretching. But N2 is a non-polar molecule. So it is just like carbon dioxide. N2 is also having symmetric stretching, but it is non-polar. Non-polar. N2 is non-polar. So it has only one kind of vibrational degrees of freedom, which is symmetric stretching. So when there is some symmetric stretching in the N2 molecule, then there won't be any kind of dipole moment generated. No dipole moment will be generated during the symmetric stretching of N2. Since it is a non-polar molecule, so N2 is IR inactive. N2 is not, it will not give any IR peak. But when you are taking carbon dioxide has 4 vibrational degrees of freedom, 2 stretching and 2 bending. 2 stretching and 2 bending for carbon dioxide, CO2. CO2 has 2 stretching and 2 bending. So among these 4, the symmetric stretching mode is not generating any kind of dipole moment. But this asymmetric stretching mode is generating the dipole moment. This bending mode also generating the dipole moment, because here if both the oxygens are bent like this, then their resultant dipole moment will not be equal to 0. There will be certainly some residual dipole moment within the molecule. So it means in spite of having non-zero dipole moment initially in the equilibrium state, it has non-zero dipole moment. But still it is IR active because of the fact that three of its vibrational mode are IR active. That means during the three of its vibrational mode, the molecule is having non-zero dipole moment. That means change in dipole moment with respect respect to the change in bond length is not equal to 0. Okay, clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, this is the same thing. This is the same thing for CO2, and this is the gross selection rule. Gross selection rule is the molecule need not to have a permanent dipole moment, but the electric dipole moment of the molecule must change during the vibration. And also you have to mention here the delta V must be equal to plus minus 1. Okay, these are the selection rules. Okay, and one more thing I just want to tell you that I told you that delta V equal to plus minus 1 is the most frequent transitions observed in vibrational spectroscopy, which is called the fundamental transition. But plus 2, delta V equal to plus 2, plus 3 can be observable in certain conditions at high temperature. If the molecule is given temperature or heat, then the transition from 0 to 2 or 0 to 3 can be possible. In that case, delta V is becoming plus 2 or plus 3. Okay, so these transitions or the bands coming from this transition, out of this transition, is called overtone. Okay, and these bands are also called hot bands. Why they are called hot bands? First of all, this is not the ordinary transition. This overtone is not the ordinary transition. For this kind of transition to occur, heat must be given to the sample. So that is why when you are increasing the temperature of the system, then this kind of transition can be observed. And since they are going to a higher energy value, so they are called the hot bands. Okay, hot bands are very rare, but sometimes, very rarely, they can be observed. But most of the transitions are fundamental transitions. Okay, so I think I should stop here because you have another class. Okay, don't leave. I'm just taking the screenshot, so please don't leave. And I will take my next class on Thursday, and timing I will tell you. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
When is your exam will start? Do you have any idea?
Ma'am,
when
most probably in the first week of April.
First week of April. Okay, fine.
And ma'am, can you please share the presentation?
Yes. After finishing one chapter
Yes,
of
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
okay, I will give you the figure. And you are from first year, first semester, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, now you can leave one by one. Okay, I'm ending my meeting here. Okay, bye.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.